And welcome again to the Bunny Perspective. One of my favorite movie genres is documentary film. And since the beginning of my show, I've wanted to tackle topics just outside of TV and film. I tried with a few experimental episodes, and I think I'm finally onto something. Documentaries are more and more entertaining, and they offer me a chance to talk about issues, music, art, and events I'd otherwise not have a chance to share with you. So this episode, we're introducing a new segment called Docs You'll Docs You'll lie. Docs You'll lie. Play the song!
All my friends are dead and they don't like me anymore. They moved along, they changed, and now they find me quite a bore. Way back then it was okay to be a little weird, but all my friends are dead and some have even grown a beard.
So what doc are we tackling for this new segment? Well, let's talk a little bit about my favorite documentaries first. Some of these I'll cover in depth, but all of them you ought to check out. I like sad, moving documentaries like Dear Zachary, or documentaries that teach me about subsections of America like Super High Me or Nerdcore Rising. And I love social political documentaries that piss me off like Prop 8 and Jesus Camp. But those topics are not covered in this episode. This episode is about music. More specifically, the type of doc that is about people talking about art. This week, we're talking about the very interesting 2002 documentary about my favorite band ever.
They might be giants. Boy. They might be giants.
The movie is Gigantic, The Tale of Two Johns. So because we're doing a They Might Be Giants type review thingy, that gives us a chance to break out the guitar and sing. So Brian he's gonna accompany me, and
It's Trevor. My name is Trevor Bennett.
But you're bald. So my sound guy, like most sound guys, is a musician on the side. How's it feel to lose all them dreams? I went there! You can cry. So we're gonna play some They Might Be Giants songs in between the review of Gigantic.
This kind of sounds like padding, Phil.
It is padding.
Oh.
Good job.
Shut up.
That was really difficult.
Why don't we get along?
I built a little empire out of some crazy garbage called the blood of the exploited working class.
So Gigantic is the story of the early career of John Linnell and John Flansburgh from their first record all the way up to Mink Carr. So how is the documentary itself? Like its composition and its content? Well, it's easy to say. It's wonderful. For fuck's sakes, this is right after the opening credits.
And I now officially declare this documentary open.
I love that. It's so smart. It does something very important. It explains the music, where it comes from, and what it means.
Really curious things about They Might Be Giant songs is if you just looked at a lyric sheet, you would probably think this would be like song after song would just be some dirge.
Yeah, the song Don't Let's Start is wonderful.
Don't let's start. This is the worst part.
They even show the entire song live on the documentary.
This little girl, but don't let's start. I've got a weak heart.
So technically, this is also a concert movie as well. They did a cool running thing in this film. They have actors and comedians doing dramatic reads of song lyrics.
I'm not allowed to ever come up with a single original thought.
Did they stop Andy Richter on the way back from the fucking mall?
No one in the world ever gets what they want, and that is beautiful.
Hey, I can do this too!
Yeah, you're all gonna be in this experimental film. And even though I can't explain it, I already know how great it is.
Yay! More padding!
I didn't apologize for when I was 8 and I made my younger brother have to be my personal slave.
It's people telling stories and analyzing the music with some interesting guests, like Ira Glass.
Once I got into a talk with him about the song Meet James Ensor, and they were completely elliptical.
Robert Krulwich.
I said to him, John, make me a ballad of the lonely germ. He did it, as best I can tell, between lunch and dinner.
And Sarah Vowell.
Everybody dies frustrated and sad, and that is beautiful. You know, kind of a downer idea.
I think I just came out as an NPR fan. All the frat boys out there are scratching their heads hoping I'll start talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin again. Oh, and Sarah Vowell knew way back in '02 that Jay Leno was no longer funny or relevant.
Jay Leno was hosting, and that was when Jay Leno was still really good.
I wonder if I have any frat boy fans. Sarah Vowell, brah! You listen to some Sarah Vowell? She's awesome, brah! I get some brews and I listen to her books all the time, brah. I like Sarah Vowell, shut up! Anyway, the celebrities here are a little obscure, but that's okay.
Meet James Ensor, Belgium's famous painter.
No, he is a really great painter.
I never knew what everybody meant by endless, hopeless, bleak despair. Until one day when I found out. The first time I ever left my house.
One of the coolest things in the documentary is They Might Be Giants playing with the Carson Tonight Show band.
Look at Ariana by the light switch. Who watches over you? Make a little birdhouse in your soul.
If you buy the DVD, which you totally should, you get the whole performance as a bonus feature.
House in your soul.
How cool is that? And they have these super talented old school musicians playing Birdhouse. And it sounds amazing. And here are some people praising Birdhouse.
Birdhouse is, just a towering achievement.
That's a beautiful song, though, still.
Hearing Birdhouse on the radio, without knowing what any of the lyrics were,
Right, it's a great
it
song.
just moved me.
Then it's actually about a nightlight. That's too much for a lot of people to process, I think. And so they're like, and then it's called wacky.
I mentioned this before, but this song was on Pushing Daisies, one of the best moments in the entire run of that series.
Youth culture killed my dog, and I don't think it's fair. And his suicide can be justified by the tastemakers how they cry and cry.
Meet James Ensor, Belgium's famous painter.
About They Might Be Giants being on MTV, and wow, I wish I'd seen this on TV then.
Hi, it's us. They Might Be Giants, your hosts here on Postmodern MTV.
We'll talk about my late conversion later, but if I was old enough to care, I would have seen some really interesting videos.
No one in the world ever gets what they want, and that is beautiful.
Anna Nog and Don't Let's Start have such crazy interesting videos.
Getting old and we still haven't walked in the glow of each other's majestic presence.
With very art school visuals.
This is my last stick of gum. I'm going to cut it up so everybody gets some. Except for Ashurbanipal, who says that my haircut makes me look like a Mohenjo-Daroan. Hey! Ashurbanipal, I'm a Mesopotamian. Sargon, Hammurabi, Ashurbanipal, and Gilgamesh.
And apparently John and John are addicted to coffee.
The next part of the documentary is all about coffee.
Like most really creative people, they don't have this dumb, we're weird because we're stoned excuse. They're crazy creative all on their own. Not that I care if an idea comes from drugs, mind you, but it's cool to know that they require nothing to create these wonderful songs.
In the middle of the night, jump off the bus, go to the Quickie Mart, and buy a six-pack of Mountain Dew to make sure that person's happy. That's it,
But what people don't realize is he's actually scoring dope.
The documentary, as movies go, never gets stale, bouncing around to different topics and ways to discuss They Might Be Giants.
James loved politics, and so did Sarah. It was a closely run thing in 1844.
In 1844, the Democrats were split.
They even show a debate club arguing the meaning of Particle Man.
It's clearly about physics.
Particle Man might think no one cares about him. Triangle Man might think, you feel tough.
And I love that they address the weirdest rock controversy I've ever heard of. So first I have to report to you that fans of media hate change. I know, sorry to say, change apparently scares most hardcore fans. So up until the album Flood, They Might Be Giants was John and a tape deck. After Flood, they got, I hope you're sitting down for this,
We felt very strongly that they needed to get a band.
a band!
Some of the hardcores actually established a boycott.
Say it ain't so!
And I think our natural response was, what do you know about how to be a success in rock? Here we are, barely successful at all.
Yeah, this was a thing for some reason.
When the duo became a band, I loved it.
Accidentally in a coal mine, it was found when they accidentally dug too far down.
Now you're the only one here who can tell me if it's true that you love me and I love me.
I've seen them probably over 20 times, and I was actually going to see them in their London show. I met my fiance at They Might Be Giants show in Rhode Island, actually.
I started to realize that They Might Be Giants fans are some of the scariest people I've ever met in my life.
My first and only live show was an amazing free concert in Detroit. They did an awesome version of The Sun, and they did this incredible encore with Istanbul. It was really cool of them to do a show for free. Weird. They gave something away and I plan to buy more. In other news, Napster ruined music. Pretty good joke.
Pretty good joke.
Thank you.
Don't let's start. This is the worst part. Who could believe for all the world that you were my precious little girl? But don't let's start.
And it's really great to hear how these two Johns feel about each other.
He's sort of the Lenin.
Yeah,
You're the McCarthy.
he's the Trotsky.
Yeah.
People are going to know that we've heard of the Beatles when they see this in the movie.
So let me bust some learning on you fools. John and John are hilarious.
We are the shitty Beatles.
And they have done music for things I bet you didn't realize they did the music for them.
Yes, no.
I guess they are good, but I don't know what for.
The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
Yeah, the fucking Daily Show theme. They show us these great moments of them just being friends, and it's cool to see any relationship last this long.
Sorry. One of the first things we had to
These guys have been in a band 20 years at the time of this footage, and they get along great. And it's cool to see these two and their fans. They Might Be Giants have the most loyal and devoted audience ever. Until you guys came along.
Like 3 people applauded him.
Yeah, I know. Like 3 people. That's a solid 3 people. They Might Be Giants are amazing guys who deserve all the good things they get. This is the movie that makes you want to work harder, get an audience, and be nerd famous.
Don't let's start. This is the worst part. Can believe for all the world that you are my precious little girl. But don't let's start. I got a weak heart. I don't get around. How do you get around? Yay! We fucking did it!
We fucking did it!
Yeah!
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 Ira Glass has an amazing quote about these two that does sum up Flansburgh and Linnell pretty good.
Like, the thought has occurred to me a lot. Like, what a shame that those two guys are in They Might Be Giants, because if they weren't in They Might Be Giants and they would stumble on the record, they'd just love it.
And that's about it. You can buy Gigantic for about $20 on Amazon.com. Cannot stress enough that if you are a fan or want to be, this is a must-see. The features have videos, extended interviews, and all manner of awesome. You can rent it on Quickster? Is that what the new mail-in next Netflix DVD?
I think it's still Netflix.
They're going to change the name to Quickster anytime.
They gave up on that.
Oh, good idea, because that was a stupid fucking name. You can rent it on Netflix, not Quickster. It's a really moving and interesting documentary. I think even people new to They Might Be Giants can enjoy this movie. And that was the first doc in docs you'll... Come back next time for more greatness.
The way we thought the name was kind of interesting is so different than the popular interpretation of what makes the name interesting, because for us, They Might Be Giants was obviously, just as a set of words, was this outward-looking thing. That it was like, some guy sitting looking out the window, looking out at the world, and it was like about that stuff going on out there that we might not be able to understand.
I stumbled onto They Might Be Giants in high school, but like a lot of people, it took me forever to like any of their albums.
There was a period of a few months where the only thing in my car was this cassette copy of Flood, and to be honest, Like many of my favorite records, I listened to it and I did not like it.
I had known that they were a thing since I was a kid and saw them on Tiny Toon Adventures, which I loved. But what always struck me about They Might Be Giants is how much they reminded me of The Adventures of Pete and Pete. If you had a strange attraction to that show like I did, you'll really dig They Might Be Giants. My top 5 albums are, and in no particular order, Flood, Mink Carr, John Henry, Join Us, and then The Early Years, which is really 2.5 albums. I remember I played Then, The Early Years, to my friends in high school and they hated it. I suppose it wasn't enough like Cruise Shadows or something. I am no longer friends with these people. They Might Be Giants is made for smart, witty people who want interesting, well-crafted humor. And it's not for everyone. But then, the best things in life aren't for everyone. Good night, everybody! Whoa! Hit the pipe a little too hard.
Hello, Phil Bunny. This is John Flansburgh. How are you?
Dystopia, smashed to bits. The keeper of dust, the builder of rust.